Good evening and welcome to this edition of Tok Piksa. It's just over 2 weeks before we celebrate our country's 40th independence anniversary, and tonight we'll give you a sneak peek at My Story 40 Years On, a special program featuring interviews with some of our country's most prominent personalities. But first we take you to the island of Daru in the Western Province, where reporter Tekla Gunga reports on how the standard of government services have locals fearing the worst.
Daru is in the South Flight electorate of Western Province. It shares international borders with Australia to the south and Indonesia to the west. It also shares national borders with the Gulf and West Pacific provinces and the Highlands region. The common language spoken on Daru Island is Kiwai, the local vernacular, and English. It has a total population of over 100,000 people, and the locals here enjoy fish and sago as their staple diet. Western has been categorized as an underdeveloped province. It has a high mortality rate due to its weak health system, and because of its geographical location, there are high incidences of drugs and arms smuggling along these international and national borders.
I'm the chairman for Daru Council.
Kiwi Louis is a well-respected local on Daru. He describes the delivery of government services on the island as very slow and says the state of roads and basic government services is not very good.
Currently we're facing a very big problem here with our roads. It's more like a ditch and drainage systems here, right in the center of middle of the streets, and we just wonder how our political leaders feel when they are driving here on these very bumpy roads where it's...
Basic infrastructure like road and drainage systems have not seen an upgrade since the 1980s, and they have deteriorated to the state that they need a complete upgrade. Their cry for a proper road network continues to fall on deaf ears, the locals say. This is one of Daru's main road. It was constructed when Daru Island became the Western Provincial Capital in the 1970s. The road links the residential areas to Daru town. Today it is nothing more than a dirt road with craters as deep as 30 centimeters.
There is no proper services rendered to the people of Western Province, especially in Daru.
The road condition is the same on the southern part of the island. Karum Gaya is a government worker, and driving on the deteriorating road has over the years seriously affected his health.
So many drivers here, we have very hard time driving. It's a tiring job. It's just like we are doing a lot of job. After a day, when we sit down at in the house and look back, just like we have done a very big job.
There have been some roadworks, but according to Daru locals, the contractors do not complete the roadworks, and in many cases, the road conditions become worse than they were before the work started on them.
I feel what the government should do now is bring in investigators from the national departments to investigate these cases where the monies have been given to contractors, so that there won't be any duplication in bringing in new contractors to build the roads up to the standard where people, the citizens of Papua New Guinea, can enjoy, especially in Daru town.
A local contractor shipped these bags of sand into Daru in 2013 to patch parts of the roads leading into the town area. However, locals say the bags have been sitting here for over 2 years with no sign of any roadwork at all. There is not one complete sealed road on the island, and vehicle owners find it challenging when trying to purchase vehicle parts.
Our vehicles are spoiled because of the road conditions, and the parts too are very expensive. Some of the parts that we couldn't find over in Mosby, some have to go overseas to purchase their parts too. So that's one of the things that about the road is we still need the road to be fixed.
While many locals say the change in the provincial headquarters from Daru to Kunga has affected government service on the island, others say it is just ignorance from the South Fly members' office. Because of the absence of a traffic office, the town lacks proper traffic signs, including street names. Locals feel the establishment of a traffic office here will minimize the traffic concerns they encounter on a daily basis. While motorists have to deal with these road conditions, the provincial economy is also failing. Beside these two foreign-owned shops is Daru's main market. It is a traditional trading venue used for trading between Daru Islanders and locals from the mainland. Many families earn a living through the sale of garden food and protein from the sea. People travel to Daru as far as Baimuru in the Gulf province to sell their catch or trade with the islanders. It costs a vendor 30 kina for a dinghy ride to travel to Daru from the mainland. The same vendor is also charged 60 kina for every bag of garden food he brings to sell. Because the market lacks proper stalls and fencing, most vendors are forced to sell their goods on the ground, just next to the main road. Mia Bui is one vendor that travels to Daru to sell her produce. Mia shares the same experience other vendors in Daru face when competing for a spot to sell in the already crowded market.
My market here in Western Province is not good. We usually tie our fly house that can the flies, and we usually sell our garden food in the sun. Dust, we swallow dust, and some of us get runny nose. It's not healthy for us to market like this.
What the vendors want is a proper market infrastructure to market their goods.
You're watching Tok Piksa. Tekla Gunga continues her coverage of Daru with a look at a special group of people who are doing inspirational things for people needing special services.
Established in 2006, Kallang Service in Daru has been providing formal education and non-curriculum activities to children living with disabilities. The Resource Center is the second disability institution in Western Province and was initiated by a Catholic nun. The launching of this center's Vocational Building is a dream come true for head teacher Rose Keani. The building was launched to commemorate the founding nun and coincided with the completion of the center's fence project. It commenced construction in July 2015 and was built with over 100,000 kina. Previously, when the center was operating without a fence, it was always a challenge for the teachers to ensure their students do not wander off. Seeing this need, head teacher Keani sought assistance from offices at the PNG Sustainable Development Program. After a successful conversation, PNG SDP donated part of their funds to the center.
It is an elementary school, but in this center we have health and education sector involved, where children with all forms of disability coming to school, teachers care for them in the elementary education, while the CBR or community-based rehabilitation officers care for the disability, do physiotherapy and all this.
Mrs. Kearney comes from Jiwaka. She started teaching in 1984 after graduating from St. Benedict's Teachers College in East Sepik. After teaching in the primary schools for a number of years, she came to Daru and taught at one of the primary schools.
I was in the mainstream school, but Bishop of the diocese wanted to start a center here, so they were looking for somebody. So the sister who was looking after Kallang Service approached me and asked me if I could work with them. I said, oh, definitely I would like to work with you, because that was what we were involved in at the beginning, you see, when I was out from the college, so my interest was still there. I started in 2006 with sister, and that's how me start now. Like this Western Province is my second home, and this resource center is like a baby blow me.
At the center, she leads a team of 10 teachers in teaching and training over 300 children living with disabilities. The center operates mainly on the assistance from donors and the Daru community. The pattern of training children living with disabilities is very different from the training students in the normal education system undergo.
I want to thank the teachers for their time and effort all through the year. And you see, as we are all seated here, you see all these little lovely children here. They're always eating. They're always eating in school. So they also enjoy with the teachers in the school.
The challenge Mrs. Kearney faced at the center is when students do not turn up for classes.
Like our students, our children not coming to school regularly or going on and off, not attending to our programs, and then that prolongs it delays them to catch up in our activities again. Like with CBR, they're doing speech or physiotherapy and all this. They need to come to school every day so that their body is used to the system of picking up, so that coordination and all this will be okay. But sometimes they don't come for almost a term or 3-4 weeks, and that really delays the movement and all this. With learning too at the center, each student has their own learning speed and all this, so it's very hard to plan like normal students in mainstream schools. We have what we call individual education plan in place for every student.
Every school day, the teachers begin their duty by picking up the students from their houses.
1 hour straight.
Mary Krista Nakamole is another teacher at the center. Because of the deteriorating state of the road, it normally takes 1 hour to pick the students up and transport them to the center. Following the center's launch of its vocational arm, the senior students at the center will be introduced to the different life skills courses. These skills include cooking, sewing, painting, and carpentry. Based on individual students' interests, the teachers will then assist the students to master the different skills they choose.
My plan now is the bigger children who are 16 years and above, or who could not make it to grade 9 or grade 10 or grade 11, we will have them in our resource center here, where they will have livelihood program like sewing, knitting, cooking, baking, all this. That child will have to show interest in particular areas, so we build from that child's interest.
Kallang Service in Daru is an example of many mission-run centers in the country that operates on donor funds. Such centers give the children and adult living with disabilities the drive to become who they aspire to be in the future.
Welcome back to Tok Piksa. Well, we are on the eve of our country's 40th independence anniversary. In the lead up to September 16th, MTV will be featuring interviews with prominent personalities who were around in 1975 and have seen the country develop over 40 years. We leave you now with a sneak peek of the views of prominent broadcast journalist John Eggins, who was at the time of independence president of the Sogeri National High School Students Representative Council and main liaison for the main events at Sir Hubert Murray Stadium on September 16, 1975.
Sogeri National High at that time consisted of students from all over Papua New Guinea. So Sogeri was representative of the country. There were students from the highlands, from the islands, from the southern region, all the regions, in fact all the provinces. All the districts at that time, they were known at that time. And so it was decided that Sogeri should become the main celebrant organ or unit during independence celebration. So we were the ones who played center stage at the Sir Hubert Murray Stadium at the time of independence. I mean, the flag raising and things that we did at the Pacific Games. Today it is more elaborate and more detailed. At that time it was quite new, and a lot of us didn't know a lot. There was a lady called Marge Walker who went through a lot of things about what we should do at Sir Hubert Murray Stadium at the time of the Declaration of Independence for Papua New Guinea. So it was quite an exciting time for us at that time, yes. And I happened to be the SRC president at that time. So I did a little bit more than many of the other students, if you will, to organize this thing with the principal, with Marge Walker, and with the Independence Celebrations Committee that had representatives up at Sogeri, overlooking our preparations, what we had to do, the kind of things we had to do, flag raising, some movements that were designed at that time. So each district and all the districts of the country at that time had their own uniforms. I remember the Western Highlands, which I come from, was green, and all the others had their different colors and their different designs that depicted their cultures. And that was on show at the Sir Hubert Murray Stadium at the time of independence, and it was quite a time, yes. A lot of things have worked, a lot of things have not. And I think, obviously we were not ready economically, if you will. I think Australia realized that and kept helping us with budgetary support all the time, each year. As we develop, as we progress, I think politics really took hold of the country. It was the dominant thing, if you will. And of course, the administrative system that was there, it worked because many of the Australians, the British, even some New Zealanders were still with us at that time, after September 75, and they kept the system going. And so it moved. And I'd like to think it went for about 10 years, 10 to 12 years it moved. And eventually, these people had to be replaced or were replaced as Papua New Guineans were trained and were coming online to take over from the expatriates towards important key positions, if you will. And I think this is probably where we went wrong. I just think that when we took over, it was a happy occasion. Papua New Guineans were in positions of responsibility and trust. And I'm not quite sure whether we were ready. We were trained and we were equipped to take on, to meet those challenges that were demanded at that time. And maybe we faltered a little bit in that, and then it leads to the kind of words that are part of our vocabulary today: inefficiency, corruption, nepotism. All of those things were allowed to creep in. I'd like to think about 10 to 12 years after independence when Papua New Guinea took over, and we didn't realize that it was eating into our system. That was probably the beginning of a stagnant period that we went through.